Good evening, good afternoon, and good morning, wherever you might be in the world. How are you doing? Welcome to another Friday Mind Reset Live with me, your host, Tony Dada, your soul brother from another mother. I'm laughing because my son loves it when I say that. How are we all doing? I hope you're good. Let me just make sure that my camera is all good. How are we all doing? I'm so excited today to be with you all, and you'll find out why. But I just want to check before we get underway that can you hear me okay? Can you see me okay? I just would like to check. Okay. Maybe not. Okay, can we have yep, you can. Michael says yes, he can see and hear me. That's great. So welcome to our Facebook audience and welcome our YouTube audience. It's the month of October. Wow. So welcome, the very first of the month. Really pleased because in this month we are looking at mindset. Mindset is the topic that we're going to be focusing on throughout this month. And it's one of the most favorite topics that I like to talk about. And I'm really pleased that we're going to have my special guest with us today, Michael Oni, who some of you know we've been working together for way past 20 years. And we're going to be talking about a particular question. The question I want to start by asking you all is, do you have clarity about your thinking style? Meaning, and really, I'm going to make it quite broad to begin with, in that there's three different styles we're going to be talking about. Whether you have a positive thinking, a positive mindset style, or whether you have poverty, prosperity, or if you have what Michael refers to as stinking thinking. And I want you to ask yourself the question as to which one of these relates to you. You see, because we're living in a time, ladies and gentlemen, where it's not just about what you think, it's about you really being able to prove how you think, and the evidence will be around you. You see, you've heard me talk about this being the new era of spirituality. And in this new era, we actually get to experience what we believe. And so mindset is so important because the mind links to the heart. You know, I'm reminded of in the book of Matthew, it speaks about, there's a verse that says, out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks. Well, you need your mind. You see, the mind is the place where the thoughts and the ideas are processed and put into words. But that processing is impacted by your belief system. So hence that saying that as a man thinketh, so is he, because the mindset, as you think, so too does your mind process things in that way. And that becomes your reality in your mind, and then it becomes your expressed reality. So it's really important that we actually understand our thinking style. What is our mindset? And all too often, you know, we go and get a health check, but how many of us actually do a mental check to check how we're thinking and how our mind is operating? And this is some of the questions that we're going to be asking ourselves today, because here we are, we're in the last quarter of the year. And so this is a great opportunity for us to reflect, to think, and review our thinking style. What mindset have you used throughout this year to date, with 3/4 of the way in? Has that mindset that you've been using, has it served you? Have you realized majority of your visions that you set at the beginning of the year? Or are you falling woefully short? In which case, then it might be a good idea to do something about it. Actually, great cue, not that I planned it, but I'm running a 5-day challenge, which is starting tomorrow, which is really about moving from procrastinating to manifesting. You see, I won't go into a whole lot now, but even when we are procrastinating, that's a mindset. And that's a mindset that is brought about as a result. It usually, at the root of it, has some kind of fear element. And we all know that fear produces paralysis, stops you from being able to do anything. And so as a result, you do nothing, you procrastinate, but yet you feel really bad about it. Well, can you see how it's all linked to the mind and how we think? The mind and how we process those 60,000 thoughts that we have each day. Now, with my guest, Michael, it's going to be almost, in some cases, some people will say it's almost unbelievable, some of the things that he's going to share with us today, in that it is possible to literally do an overhaul of your mind in 90 days. Is that possible? Well, you're going to hear now. And I believe that not only is it possible, but you can take your whole life to a whole nother level if you really desire it. So what you're going to hear through this discussion is that mindset, the mindset that you have, is very closely linked to your heart set. And that's a whole nother topic that very few people speak about. And if you want, then perhaps during the course of this month, I will talk about your heart set, meaning how is your heart set? Because how your heart is set will determine your thinking style, or will seriously influence your thinking style. And I'm going to show you in practical terms exactly how that manifests. So without any further ado, I'm going to introduce my main man. Michael, only are you in the house? Yeah, he's showing up. Hey, how you doing?
I'm good, brother. I'm good.
Looking sharp, ready for today. It's all good. In the hood, how we doing?
Yeah, man. Everything's good. Everything's blessed.
Yeah. So you may have heard me just talking about introducing you, as I was introducing you, talking about, you know, those three areas in terms of how we think, whether it's a poverty mindset and a prosperity mindset, as well as your coined phrase, stinking thinking.
Yeah.
And, you know, well, let me start by asking you, which one do you believe that you are of those three? I'll put you right on the spot.
Right now, I'm both. I'm two of them. I'm positive and prosperity.
You're what?
Because you said
No,
positive,
no,
prosperity.
no. Let's get this right.
Oh.
We got our audience here, and so the first one is poverty thinking.
Oh, poverty. Yeah.
The second one is prosperous thinking.
Prosperous thinking.
And the third one is stinking thinking. So take your time.
I'm prosperous thinking. I'm prosperous thinking.
You might want to call somebody.
Yeah, no, I'm prosperous thinking, man, because okay. I understand. I understand the other two. Because I was the other two. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, And what I would say is that the other two, the stinking thinking and the poverty thinking, it's got its root in lack. Like a lot of times we focus on lack.
Yeah, it's great that you said that because, we're in the month of October now. It's the last quarter of the year. And in my meditations this morning, for those of you know, Fridays is my time. It really just dropped in my spirit. And it's actually been creeping up over the last week because we spoke about this yesterday. And I'm going to share some stuff with you today that proves the point that we need to bring this awareness, which again is about the mind, to people that there is an opportunity for us to live life differently and live life based on abundance, based on universal laws and principles, including the law of attraction, Think and Grow Rich. There's a whole bunch of spiritual principles in there and just spiritual principles, period. And why am I saying that? Because for me, you've known me for over 20 years and I've been kind of trying to drip feed stuff to people. But as of now, I'm actually done. In as much as I'm going to say it like it is, and whoever has the minds to be able to comprehend what I'm saying and step to it, then great, let's do that. And for those who can't, then it's fine because we're not here for everyone, as is in the good book. I think it's Matthew 10, verse 6, where it says we're not here for everyone. Now, why am I saying that? Because you said that it focuses on lack. That's what you said, right?
Yeah.
And those who have worked with me know that right there is based on one of the spiritual principles, the law that what you focus on grows. Now, if no one has ever told you that, you just be putting your attention everywhere, particularly on lack. Because of course, if I'm broke, then people are focusing on I'm broke or I ain't got no money, and they'll be speaking that into their life, not knowing that they are that very person that is actually manifesting what they don't want. And you were doing that for a long time.
Yeah.
So much so that, I mean, it's a beautiful space that we're in now because 12 months ago, you couldn't say what you just said.
No, because I didn't. Yeah, I wouldn't have said that because I didn't know that. That's what it was. I didn't know that. You know what I mean? Because of obviously when I was doing the GPS, and that was apparent that wow, you know what? It's funny as well because people you'll be thinking in lack for forever.
And not knowing
and not even know that you're in lack, you know what I'm saying? Like you think, and that's actually the
scary part, right?
Yeah, the scary part and the worst part of it. So, you're there thinking, you're trying in your head somewhere to change things, but it's all in lack. It's almost like you're in the mud. And how you get out of the mud?
Well, the thing is, you see, it's a really good point that you've made, but I would say that it's actually not the same because check it. From a physical point of view, if you're in the mud and you're sinking, you know it, you feel it, you sense it, and you're fighting for your life.
Yeah.
When it's in the mental plane, it's none of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you could actually, as many people do, think that they're okay.
Yeah.
But they're just living an illusion.
Yeah.
And they don't even realize it. Like they're in the matrix and they're going around saying to people, oh yeah, let's get out of the matrix. Like I'm out of the matrix, but they're in the matrix and don't even realize that they're in the matrix. And I'm so glad that I am so glad that you're not in that space. And I want to talk a little bit about why I'm so glad. Because we're keeping it real, like we said. And I thought this was a great opportunity for us to actually demonstrate and prove to people so that as we're having this discussion, you, if you want to keep it real with yourself, can apply and check yourself as to, does this apply to me? So 12 months ago, I mean, we're still in contact. We're always checking on each other. And when I heard some of the things that was going on in your life, I was like, I'm like, okay, I can see my boy's in trouble, and it's gonna get worse. So then, but I also know that, the hardest people to help are the people that are experiencing a poverty mindset and are thinking. Yeah. Because the first thing that they're gonna say is, I ain't got any money. And then they're gonna think that you're trying to tap them up for money. But we have a different relationship. So I gave you the invitation. For me, it's always an invitation. And I'm like, would you like to do the GPS? And obviously, because you're my boy, I'm gonna make it easy for you. But by spiritual law, you're gonna have to put some skin in the game financially, and you did. Now, I made it very attractive for you because we've got history. But why did I do that is what I want to focus on for now. And the reason why I did that is we go back 20 years plus. And in all that time that I was working, investing in our young people and sharing my vision of and the mindset that I had that we could make a difference in young people's lives up and down the country. That was my heart set. And you were one of the only people who saw that vision and felt it and had the same heart and said, listen, Tana, I'm a roll with you on that front. And we did all kinds of crazy stuff, only you and I, like going and working in the office all day and then meeting up at 2:00 in the morning and then, giving out leaflets, all night because you were committed. Now, why am I saying that? I'm saying that because that support and that commitment for you to bring everything that you could, that's always stayed with me. Even though, even back then, I was trying to show you how to make money and stuff, but you really were quite entrenched in that mindset. And I didn't have the tools at that time. But as you know, you were one of the people that has been a driving force for me to say, well, how can it be that you've got a way for someone to come out of poverty or to make money, and they're so stuck in that poverty mindset, they won't even move. To the point, if you remember, on one occasion, I was saying, look, don't think, and I know that you kind of felt insulted. I'm like, don't think about it, because I was like, I know he's going to process it negatively. Don't think about it. Just do what I say, because it's going to make money. Yeah. And you still had a problem with it. So, but the point I want to make, and I'm making boldly, is that 20 years later, the invitation that I gave you to do the GPS program was really inspired as a result of me knowing what you had done for my vision and me not wanting you to be left in that poverty mindset. Because it was starting to get quite peak for you last year, wasn't it?
Yeah, I just knew that everything was just feeling like it was crashing around me. And the thing is, I noticed that my thinking wasn't right, but I just didn't know how to get out of it. Like when it's like in the car, I don't even know how to reverse, but I'm just going forward that way. But I don't even know, I'm in the car, I don't know what to do to reverse my car. And so I knew this is...
Okay, that's a great analogy.
You know what I'm saying? Because I was like, I know I need to think my way, but how do I do it? I don't know. Because I was just getting deeper and deeper in it. And I was like, wow. And that's when I gave you the call and said, this is a situation. And then was talking about some other thing. And then you said, listen, here's an invitation. You need to come on this GPS. And your words were, if you come on it, we can sort it out.
Is that what I said?
Yeah, you said, if you come on the GPS, I guarantee your thinking will change. And I was like,
it's impossible.
At this point, now when you said it, because what it is as well, I think words play a big part in terms of how we view things. When you said that, so my mind's now focused on the outcome. Yeah.
It changed from the problem. Here you go. Look at that. The same spiritual law again. What you focus on grows. So now you've taken your mind off the problem and you're looking at this guy is saying there's a possible
the way out. All right, cool. Let's just focus on that then. And I'll, obviously the fear comes in like, you sure? But I'm like, well, he's saying my thinking will change. Now, this is what I need. Let's focus on that. Came to my missus, I said, and obviously I'd already done the mind reset.
Right.
Which was the 90 days. And that was the actual beginning because we had that conversation before the GPS. So that came. And in that 90 days, because I'd never focused on specific areas in our lives, i.e. the financial, the mental, the physical, the spiritual, the relationship. And it's funny that everything in those pillars, I was experiencing in one way or the other.
What lack or negativity?
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So, like spiritually, I knew I wanted to grow myself spiritually, but I was feeling stuck. You know what I mean? Physically, I've always tried to keep fit, but even that was...
Yeah, because your mind has keys to all of those areas.
Yeah. And then, without going deep, the situation that I had with my missus.
Yeah. You know the relationship wasn't great.
Yeah. And she's a great person because she's got patience and she's dedicated to us working, and you know what I mean. So, and that's another thing. If you're in a relationship and you don't have the support of, because she could easily say, you know what, you're a bit of a mess, mate. You know what I mean? She could have said that.
Yeah.
But she knows my heart, and she knows, you know what.
And see, this is what I'm coming back to, that there is a language of the heart that we don't talk about, that people don't understand, but it's real. Because what you just said is that's what gave your missus the strength and the capacity to stick with this.
Yeah.
And it's the same heart language that gave me the instinct to invite you to do the GPS program based on things that you had demonstrated and showed me through your heart 20 years prior.
Yeah.
If people could begin to learn how to communicate from that place, it's a done deal, because the mind,
it's real.
It's 100% real.
Yeah, it's real, because even 2 days ago, I had a little situation and I was thinking my way out of it. And I got a phone call from another guy who I'd supported in what he was doing. And he was like, he said the same literal thing that you said to me, like, listen, you supported me when I needed support. Let me offer you this situation. And I was like, wow. Because I was just thinking, yeah, I need to do something. What's the way to go about it? And he just gave me the call, and he just literally bailed me out. And it was based on the fact that I supported him. I didn't ask him for no money, anything like that. But as I said to you, I've noticed that in my life, that's what I've given to people. And so they just come back and show their love to me as well when I need it. Or,
And what people don't realize, that thing is more real than paper money.
Yeah, it says it in the Bible, like, you know what I mean? It says it in the Bible, like, don't worry about food and clothes and,
And of course, you've heard me say that for over 20 years, and people will be like, what do you mean? That's crazy talk. But you've seen me.
Yeah.
I mean, you've actually asked me the question. I'll never forget, 20 years ago, and you're like, why are you spending time and money investing in other people's children?
Yeah.
Remember that comment? Like, you couldn't.
I didn't understand it at the time. I was thinking, why is this guy doing that? And the reason being is because people wasn't appreciating it.
Yeah.
That's what made me think, hold on a minute, this guy's spending his time and his money on you're not doing it for your child.
And this is where we come to that stinking thinking and a poverty mindset.
Yeah.
That, I mean, yes, I remember there were occasions where you actually got angry because you felt that people were taking my kindness for weakness.
Yeah.
Now that you have, a prosperous thinking, then you know that what you're doing, when one is engaging in that kind of practice, you're expressing what's in your heart and what's in your mind. And it's actually an expansion of the soul. And so you're not focused on a thank you. I mean, of course, it'd be nice, but whether you say thank you or not, I'm going to do what I know is the right thing for me to do.
Yeah.
And that's me being on my purpose. And so here we are, 12 months ago, you're in everything is crashing. And we then step to the GPS program. And I think you were also fired up as well, because if you remember, one of your boys, based on what you had seen just by doing the 14-day mind reset, you'd shared it with one of your boys who was on the verge of being kicked out of his marriage and his home and everything.
Yeah.
And he came to you for help, and you were like, well, bro, I can't help you, but this is what I'm going through, and this is how it's worked for me. That's the last card you got.
Yeah.
And again, I'm using this as an example to show people how your mindset, you can literally be locked in a prison. And what I find is that people leave them until they're literally almost at death's door before they open up. So, of course, this guy's literally faced with pack your bags and leave, like within 7 days, or raise little money and do this mind reset course. And, well, what happened? Within 14 days, we had a turnaround. And I'm going to put my neck on the line here because we haven't spoken about it. But is the gentleman still in the home?
Still in the home. He's still in the home. They're actually going to do I think they're doing a celebration for their birthdays at the end of the month, which I got a text. And when I saw that, I was like, wow, that from where the situation was
a year ago
to we're going to celebrate our birthdays together at the end of the month. I was like, wow. I mean, and I know obviously through the year, it's been a working process, but the thing was that course helped him find his focus and his thinking, because that's what it is with that we go through. Our thinking is warped. It's not.
Come on.
It's warped, and it's like with us as well. And so when I say us, I mean a lot of us young Black men. Because of our egos, we don't let other people in.
Come on, and that's the realness. And so we grow in a warped position, but we're growing, so we think that's normal. But if you were to look at others growing, you'd see that yours is warped. And put it into context, because again, what we're talking about almost seems unbelievable. But the story that we just spoke about, some people might think, well, yeah, that they might have been faking it. But this was a relationship that was already, I mean, they were a married couple and they were already in double digits, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's going to
not like they were playing with this thing. They've been doing this thing for a minute, but yet at that point, if I'm not mistaken, the divorce papers were on the table.
On the table with the pen. With the pen, like, oh, I have to drive to get in the car now. Like, boy, you know what I'm saying? And I think if he didn't do the mind reset, it was finished, because he wouldn't been able to think his way out. So
that really
what's bad
shows.
about it, as you just said, it's mental, so you can't even see it. See what I'm saying? So you can't see. So if he didn't do the mind reset course, he would have just been stuck. But the mind reset course, like with me, it gives you an alternative to, oh, I can think like, okay, rah, I never thought that. Because you're blank, that side's blank, you know what I'm saying? It's like the other side of the moon. You can't see it. So, you know, so everything, when that thinking's like that, you know, it's going to affect your work. So now you might not be able to earn no money, you know what I mean? And it's just more stink, it's more stench, and gets to a point where you get immune to that.
You get immune,
Yeah.
but everybody else don't want to be around you because they can smell the stench.
Yeah, they can smell it. But and you, because you're immune to it, you know it's there, but you're used to it, but you don't even want to go next to people now because you think, what if they smell that? Or what? Because you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you got BO, you know you got it, but you're cool with it, innit? But you know when you go when you go to other people, they're gonna smell it and they're gonna expose you. So and it was so, you know, I was so excited about it. I even went on another webinar and I was speaking to somebody about it. And another guy said to me, and I think you spoke to him one time, he called you, and he was like, I need to sort out my thinking. I don't know if he's, you know, I'm going to actually reach out to him but he recognized it that, wow, my thinking's all over the place. And he was in a situation where he didn't have a house to stay and all of these things was going on. And he recognized it.
But here's the difference between, I would say, majority of people who recognize that things are not right, and I would say 80% of people who recognize that something is not quite right in their thinking.
Yeah.
What I've come to realize in what, you know, almost 3 decades is that they don't realize spiritual law. There's a law of manifestation from the spiritual into the physical, and it's 3 steps. One is believing. So let me just break some game here, because the mental plane is the one that connects and links the spiritual realm and the physical realm.
Yeah.
So if you want to create something, if you want to manifest something, it has to go through that portal. If that portal of the mind is messed up, it's not going to work. So step 1, you have to believe and know that that which you want to manifest is possible. Step 1. And then phase 2 is that the mind then becomes an incubator, like a woman when she's pregnant. You have to incubate that idea, believe it and nurture it and give it all of your belief and energy and love. And then you manifest it into the physical. But for 80% of people, they just have it up in their head. They don't take action like that guy that you spoke to and said, give me a call. He didn't give me a call. And so it's in the head, it's in the mental plane, but it doesn't manifest into the physical. And so, no, nothing happens. It actually, that last phase, when you don't do it, it negates everything else. So now you just got nothing.
But we're not, it's funny. I mean, how many people get that type of breakdown even in their life?
No, I hear you, brother. And this is why I'm saying, and this is what we've been saying, why now you and I, we have to be duty bound. Because if I've been blessed to have had a spiritual mentor that brought that knowledge to me, and of course, I'm just living my life thinking that everybody knows this. And then after a few decades, I'm like, well, actually, even I took my mentor for granted for a while because I thought everybody was like this. When I began to see that that's not the case, and I'm not saying that I'm anything special, what I'm saying is, by the grace of the Most High, I've been blessed. But anyone who is truly blessed knows that the blessing is never for you alone. The blessing is always you've been considered worthy to be the custodian of that blessing for the benefit of others. And that's why you get the blessing, because you're always in that flow. You get 10 blessings, you release 9 and you hold 1, you're good. So now you've got void, so you can get another 9 blessings. And once that process is going on, of course your life is going to be blessed, because you're always giving the blessings.
Mm.
And that's really what we have to be about for those people who want to get it, because as you and I both know, times are going to get real serious. And this is why we have to do what we are doing, knowing that we're going to step up our game, but knowing that not everybody is going to be ready for it, even now, even though it's peak, even though this is a spiritual time. Some people will find a way through their mindset to explain away why they shouldn't take action. But that wasn't you, thank God. And you took action. And I mean, it was a beauty for me to behold, because this is my good friend, like, who I want to help. And as we started doing these weekly sessions, each week I could literally see the transformation taking place. I mean, you came that close to losing everything, including the love of your life.
Mm.
And we were able to rescue it to the point I can safely say, and you're still in the home, right?
Yeah, still in the home. Still in the home. But yeah, it was it was just serious, you know what I mean? And when we was doing the GPS, and when you done this breakdown in terms of the spiritual to the physical, and I thought, wow, I think that's what it is. That's the opening, because I'm just thinking within this realm. I'm not taking it from the spiritual. I'm just here trying to work it out physically, type of thing. And when you were saying that, and I was like, wow, and I started to resonate to the, well, you remember, you saw it, well, I was in X amount of debt. And by the end of it, I was out of the debt. Like, it was.
And we were talking like 5 figures. It was
talking
big.
5 figures.
It's big money.
Yeah, we're talking 5 figures. So, and when that happened, I was like, no, I need to stay here. This is
life changing, right?
Yeah, I need to stay here, because I never really, as I said, once what you don't know, you don't know. And as you say, sometimes if you could know, but if somebody is not worthy of getting that knowledge, well, you just don't need to say anything. And so they'll just continue in that darkness.
Yeah. And that is particularly true of people from our community. And let's be real, let's go there, because we can, as people from our community, people of color, no one else is going to be able to say it to us. We can say, listen, we have en masse stinking thinking. And until we take ownership of that and let go of the ego and go back to school to learn the things that they would never teach you because they don't want to empower you in that way, nothing is going to change. You're going to work hard. You're going to try your damnedest, but nothing's going to change. And what I love about what you said is, I've always been saying it, particularly as a Black man in this country, I've always said, if you're not connected with the Most High, you're dead and you don't even know it. You're just a corpse. Like, success will elude you. And as the years go by, the more I see it. So interestingly, when you made that epiphany, and I didn't bring it to you like that. I was just, this is how I operate. Yeah. But as you were beginning to see things beginning to transform in your life, you now took it on steroids and made that whole connect with the spiritual, until I remember one day we had a meeting and you came by and you walked in with a Bible. I was like, what's going on here, brother? Yeah. And you're like, how I'm rolling now.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah, because the things that I started to discover, I was like, wow. You know, like I said, all the self-help books that they've ever been written has their root in that book. So why don't we just go and deal with the book? Not saying nothing wrong with the other books, obviously. Everybody takes it from their perspective. But that's the root. That's the seed. So let's go back to that root and let's start to uncover what it's saying.
Absolutely. And it's a seed that is supposed to be planted in the garden of the mind. The mind is a garden. You know, Brother Ishmael, when we used to have conversations, I'll never forget one sentence he would say, and it was, isn't it amazing that the greatest gift that God has given to man, which is his mind, he don't know how to use it. It's crazy. And doesn't think to employ himself to understand his mind. He just takes it for granted that he's got it and he can think thoughts. And so those thoughts are the best thoughts. So that's it.
Yeah. If he's, especially if he's gone to uni, got his qualifications,
Especially
good job.
You know what I mean? Especially not knowing that you could be just perpetuating somebody else's predetermined plan for you. Yeah. And you don't know until it's too late. That happens to many people. And so the mind reset really is an opportunity for anyone to do that, an MOT on their mind. And I'm not touting for business because we're all about abundance. And this is the season now where we boldly say it like it is. You've seen me for 25 years and thereabouts. Life blesses me with money to be able to invest in others. But some people will still not understand how, you see, when we get our mind right, our mind allows us to connect with the mind of the universe. Like there is an intelligence. You only have to look at nature and see how things have been set in an orderly fashion to know that it ain't just by chance. Now, some people will say that that's the case. Well, then I'm not speaking to you. But for those people that can see the wonderment and the beauty in creation and the order of things, then if your mind is stinking thinking or in lack or in poverty, yet you can look in nature and see abundance and beauty everywhere through the trees, the plants, then clearly there's a mismatch somewhere, and the mismatch is you.
Yeah, I was listening to something the other day and it's talking about the plants and the trees and stuff like that. And basically the man was making the point that, well, the plant just grows. You don't have no objection to grow. They ain't got no objection to growing. He just grows because that's what the Most High created. Yeah. Right. Whereas we come up with, we don't want to grow. And like, it don't even make sense.
It's off key. We don't want to grow. So whether it's a stubbornness or rebellion of some sort, but we don't want to grow. Now, I'm going to drop something on you just to show you how there is an order. And truly, I know that the Most High has blessed my life because you see, and this is why I'm challenging everybody, don't just talk your game, be able to prove it and evidence it. So I'm going to give you some evidence now that I think is just going to blow your mind. So we've been talking all week about the need. When I invited you to come in as a guest, I wanted you to speak directly to the Black male, in effect, but to everybody. This is how a man's life can be transformed literally in 90 days. And it's as a result of him wanting to make changes, but also connecting with the spiritual aspect of things, to the point, for you, it was picking up your Bible, even though, I never mentioned that once, but you thought your way through, and everybody has their own wisdom inside of them. So that's why my role is only to support you. I've had Muslims who have said after the 90-day program, you've made me a better Muslim. Do you know what I mean? I've had people, 7-day Adventist people say, you've taught me that I didn't know what faith is. You know, my whole role is to support you to tune into that wisdom, that omnipotent presence that dwells within you. Ain't what happened then. So I wake up this morning and I do my meditation. You know, always looking forward to Friday because it's my day. So I'm up early, and in my mind, in my spirit, drops this group, JLS. And you know this, you know the story where JLS is concerned. What was it, 15, 14 years ago that we did this project with them. But it was so strong to the point that I wrote down on my wall, it was as if this is the time for action. Because, you know, when I met the boys, they were young, and I've not really done anything in terms of addressing the issue between us. And so I wrote it on my board, and then, you know, normally I do my quiet time indoors, but my son and I were being vibes in training, and he's my coach. So I had to go for my coaching session. I'm like, let me go and do my coaching session. I'll come back. I get to the gym. I see, and this is an illustration of the stinking thinking. So, you know, the story when back in 2002, 2003, you know, we received £75,000 that we invested into young people. And we made that album, the first music album. Well, one of the groups on that album, South Soldiers, one of the guys was in the gym this morning. So, and I was talking to him just about wealth and abundance and the poverty mindset that we have in our community. And I was like, look, even you, here I am, investing this money into giving you the opportunity to go into the studio and record. And you and your whole crew, you gave me a tough time. And he had to smile about it. And I'm like, you know, this is why I realized there's no point in me trying to help you become a millionaire if you got stinking thinking. Case in point, JLS I mentioned. So we had a little bit of a chat. And then he mentioned, well, you know what? One of the guys actually comes to the gym. I'm like, you're joking. He said, no, it's true. Check where I'm going with this story. So I said, well, listen, the next time you see one of them, let them know that I want to have a conversation, you know. Anyway, I went by, and me and my boy went training. I kid you not. Within half an hour, guess who walked through the door?
Who, Marvin?
One of the boys from JLS. Can you believe that?
Whoa.
Someone who I have not
Whoa,
seen.
let me sit up for this one.
Someone who I have not seen or spoken to in 14 years. I get my meditation, I see it, and I experience it within 2 hours in the physical. I'm sharing that story to show people that where your mind goes, your physical manifestation is a result of the thoughts that you inhabit.
Wow.
Isn't that deep? Like, I knew you'd say that. That's why I didn't want to tell you.
Wow. Yeah, that's... Did you talk? Did you both talk?
So check it. The two guys, Sean and his friend, their mouth dropped because I'm talking to them about spirituality. And this is why I'm saying that we need to bring it. So because that's been in my spirit, I'm talking spirituality to them. I've gone away, and within 30 minutes, they've seen the guy walk in. So afterwards, they're like, listen, this spiritual thing that you're on, like, I need to roll with you. I'm like, this is it. This is the realness. So I did speak with him. You know, I'm like, I didn't want to disturb him. So I said, listen, you know, yeah, I see you on gym. Can we have a little chat? He said, yeah, sure. So I'm like, finish what you're doing, and then, you know, we'll have a chat. So then I went and spoke to him because I was leaving now, and he was still doing his thing. And it was just interesting. Another case of stinking thinking. You know how it all panned out. These are guys that came begging me to come onto our program, literally begging. And now he couldn't remember. he couldn't remember the contract that he signed. And then he, when I mentioned like, do you, and this is mindset now. So you see, when we talk about mindset and heart set, don't be confused. Don't try to be intellectual or intelligent and break yourself from your heart, because these are spiritual laws that we're dealing with here. Anyway, I'm like, he's like, he doesn't remember. And then he broke into, well, listen, I'm an artist. So if anything, just speak to my legal team. I'm like, fine, that's no problem. Give me your lawyer's name and we'll have the conversation. Now, I'm saying that because we're going to see how the whole thing pans out. But for me, the confidence is the meditation that I had. Do you see my point? Where in the past I've not been ready to move on it, this time it's different. Because if nothing else, I want to show people how this is the rise of the feminine energy that I've been talking about for the last decade, where things that have been hidden, this is the season where truth comes to be revealed. Yeah. And so because we have that understanding and that mindset, then we don't have no fear, because all we're bringing is truth. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna see you later. And I left. But as we left, my son was like, wow, Dad, if people thought that spirituality wasn't real before this incident, that's case closed. So it speaks of this poverty mindset. In both those cases, in one instance, we'd invested, 75,000 on that album. And there were, how many artists were on that album from up and down the country? At least, 14?
12.
The Urban Voice album.
Yeah, at least 12 or 14.
And then here we are back in, now that was in 2002. And then in 2007, the budget was close to 100 grand. And in both cases, people are not appreciative of, or that spirit of gratitude is not there. Now, let me make the point, not that I need the gratitude, because it's the universe, it's the Most High operating through me. So like I said, if the blessing comes to me, mine is to let that blessing be shared. But I'm speaking about another spiritual law, that if you receive and you don't give gratitude, you're actually cutting yourself off from the universe to give you more, because you've demonstrated that you ain't grateful. You don't appreciate. If I bought you a nice gift on your birthday, and I spent a little bit of change, and you don't even say thank you, do you think I'm going to give you a gift the following year?
Well, I mean, in their case, they ran with it for a minute, but I don't know if anybody's been following them, but things ain't really been gelling the way they want it to. You know what I mean? The way they've tried to make multiple comebacks and it hasn't really worked.
Yeah. And I'm not dwelling on them, because what I want us to look at, I'm just using, both those cases to demonstrate the mindset. In both cases, at the time, they thought the mindset was okay.
Yeah.
In Sean's case, almost 20 years later, now he's talking to me about mentoring and coaching. And my thing is, why don't we have something in place that we can do an inventory on our mind, as opposed to having to learn the hard way by life's knocks, whether it be 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20 years, because you were blessed because of your heart to be able to come back from that. But not many people can. And, we're living, as I said, in a time where it's about proving your life. The seeds that you've sown, the thinking style that you've employed and done things will come back and resurface in your life, whether it be positive or negative. Just to seal the point, check it. Literally, as we walked out of the gym, and we're just processing what just happened, we walked 10 yards and a brother almost bumps into me and says hi, but he's got his face masked up. And so I couldn't see. Then he pulls his mask down. And it was another Urban Voice student, your guy, Fuji.
Okay.
And so my son said to me,
Fuji works at Nutfield, I think.
Yeah, well, so my son said to me, but Dad, can't you see the play that's happening today? All of the, the love that you've been giving out, you're just seeing it. Like, It's not even 8:30 and you've seen 3 instances of it.
Wow.
That's what happens when we have our heart and our mind working in unison. And so I want to challenge anyone listening and tuning in today that this is the season of harvest. Those of you who've been tuning in with me from the beginning of the year know I've been saying that from the beginning of the year that this 2021 offers us a season of harvest. Well, I believe that season is here. And it's the opportunity for you to prove your life, prove your mindset, whether you have a poverty mindset or a prosperous mindset or stinking thinking. And it requires you to be honest, open, and survey your surroundings. Because if you've got stinking thinking, it should reflect and manifest around you. The question is, are you able to be real with yourself and recognize that the problem may not be other people, the issue might be you? What would be the final word that you'd like to say about how your thinking has changed? I mean, it's changed from what I can see in every single one of the 5 areas, to the point that you're even driving a new whip now.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is as well that it's an ongoing process. So like you say with a car, you have an MOT every year or every 6 months. It's the same way, because you could get drawn back into situations, but the good thing is that you have the tools to be able to think your way out of it, rather than not having the tools to think your way out.
That's a really important point. But I'd like to add to that once someone recognizes that there's levels to this thing called thinking, mindset, and once you experience an upgrade from stinking thinking to a thinking of prosperity as you experience, then you can recognize that there's another level and there are other levels. I think it's Einstein that says that the mind that created the problem cannot be the same mind that solves it. You need another level of wisdom to be able to resolve that. And once we know that and believe that, then it makes you a constant student on the path of growing yourself mentally, spiritually, as a continual process, recognizing that you're a student. And then you get to experience abundance. You see, when we often think we've arrived, whether it be you get a new job, excuse me, or you get a recording contract and you get this advance, we've seen it, right?
Yeah.
You then think you've arrived. At that moment, that's the most dangerous and critical point, because now no one can tell you nothing. You're not teachable. You're not open. And you're still in the music space. So I guess you still see that from time to time.
Yeah, you definitely see that. And as I said, as young Black men, our egos is part of, why we are in that stinking thinking, because you might think you know it all. You don't think you need a mentor, because I was like that. I don't need a mentor for. I don't need a mentor. But the mentor's there to help you get out of those situations, and maybe to show you like, wow, you're thinking like that. I'm already 2 steps ahead or 3 steps ahead in that thinking. So I can tell you there's no point going down that route. However, if you don't have it, then you just keep going down that route. And, you know, it's so deep that for some people, it actually ends up in a mental health.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So,
and this is why we're bringing it up, because the problem is not that complicated. We make it complicated because we live in denial for so long. And historically, traditionally, culturally, we're told, whether you're from Africa or the West Indies, don't tell no one your business.
yeah.
So you internalize it, you keep it all to yourself, and then you start lying to yourself. Now you get you're being psychotic because you're just trying to do split personality, deceiving yourself in your head, lying to yourself, trying to run away from yourself in your head, as opposed to nurturing and growing your garden, which is your mind. You know, next week, I think, based on this conversation, I'm going to talk about, I'm going to bring the subject to begin to look at how successful people think, because there is a particular thinking style that people who are successful employ based on universal principles. And we're actually going to be studying it. I mean, I'll see how it resonates with people next week. And if it does resonate with people, then my thinking is that we will use it as our next book that we study in our book study club, so that we go deep. Those people who are really serious about wanting to think and upgrade their mind will take this as an opportunity for us to go deep, not just read the book, but actually study the book and pick out the spiritual gems that are in there, so that people can then take practice and employ them in their lives. So, yeah, as we're speaking, I feel like that would be
that
a
book
good
is definitely, yeah, it'll be good to
touch on a couple of subjects from it. Right?
yeah, that book is serious because it actually it breaks down thinking in a way that you probably never heard before or analyzed.
Okay.
And so I think it's definitely a good book to definitely touch on.
Cool. All right. Well, let's do that. So let's just see if we've got any kind of comments from people before we say goodbye to our guests. Someone says, Michael says, real talk, we reap what we sow. Cool. I know we're just slightly over, but are there any questions that anyone would like to ask Michael before we say goodbye to our guests on Facebook and YouTube? Well, I can't see them anyway, so I think we're going to wrap it up for now. All right, well, listen, thank you so much, Oni. It's really been a pleasure. Don't go anywhere. We're saying goodbye to our guests on Facebook and our guests on YouTube. I hope you have enjoyed this and found it edifying, and I hope that you take this brother's realness. He's just opened up and just talked his whole business to you, not because he's not a private person, but he recognizes, and because he's got the heart, he recognizes that someone has to keep it real and say it like it is, because we both know, because we've been doing this for over 20 years, we know that there are tens of thousands of people, not just from our community, but just people, period, that are steeped in this stinking thinking. And the planet is not going to become a better place until we begin to lift one another out of this state of darkness and delusion and fear, lack, and limitation. I'd like you to have a closing comment and just give maybe a shout out to your crew and tell people about the work that you are doing right now based on your heart, that heart that is a constant where people are concerned.
Yeah, so I'm part of an organization called JCT, which I formed with,
stands for,
which means Just Come Together. And Just Come Together was formed with 3 other guys because we wanted to see what we could do to help our younger brothers and sisters in the community. And we formed just before COVID. And our intention was to help young people, mentor young people, be the gap between the community and the police in some respects, and do whatever we could to support the community. So what some of the things we do is we do patrols in the morning. So we patrol schools. No one's paying us for it. We just get up in the morning, we patrol schools, we see what's happening in the area, a few of the estates, and make sure everything is safe. Sometimes we do some cleaning if we think that some of the kids from yesterday littered the place, we clean it up. We also do food sharing, which we feed about 40 families every week by collecting food from Marks and Spencer's and Sainsbury's. And we bag it up and we distribute it to the people that need it. We also do appropriate adults. If some of our youngsters are found themselves in the police station and they need an appropriate adult to come and represent them, we will do that too. And we've been in schools as well, where we've been mentoring young people and talking to young people about some of the struggles that they go through while they've been in the school. So JCT is also forming alliances with people like Dexter, who you introduced me to, who also runs something similar on the patrol side of things in Croydon. And, you know, the whole aim is to come together with different organizations so that we can have the power to be able to move things, because we know that we can't do it all on our own. And I think in the community.
I mean, that is commendable. And I wanted you to share that for a number of reasons. One, because I want to illustrate to people that, believe it or not, the mind is a spiritual energy. And so your mindset is actually portable and transportable, meaning because Oni and I have worked together so closely all those years ago, we have a similar heart, and he saw my mindset. And so even though I'm no longer working with young people directly, it's still in his heart, and he still has, if anything, it hasn't, working with alongside me hasn't deterred you, it's actually inspired you, right?
Yeah, definitely.
You want to keep doing it.
Yeah,
and so one of the things that successful people do is they engage in strategic thinking. And so by strategic thinking, I've then said to him, look, I want to still have access to the street through you, because we know one another, we understand what we're doing. But I also want to connect you with other people that I think may be resonating on the same frequency as us, but I want you to check them out. And so I put him in touch with this gentleman, Dexter. Big shout out to Dexter, and it was him. Moolah Cake is his brand.
Yeah.
And only you checked him out, so much so that last month we donated 50 of my GPS books to his organizations, because he runs a young book club for young people, and they're going to be reading the book. This is how we can engage in strategic thinking, ladies and gentlemen, and link up with people who have the similar mindset to us. And this is why it is so important for you to know what kind of mindset you have, because you can literally go out or even attract similar mindsets to you, so that you can now form a bigger energy. And without going into too deeper detail, I'll end on the note saying that if it's interesting to you, then drop us a line, because we even have one of our programs, which is a mastermind group, where we're actually employing spiritual principles to bring a group of individuals, 8, 9, or 10 individuals together on a monthly basis to create a mastermind, where we bring that mental energy together and also invite that mental energy of the universe to be able to solve problems. It's talked about in the book Think and Grow Rich, but not really explained from a spiritual perspective. If it interests you, every problem has a solution. You just have to be willing to employ your mind to sift it. If that resonates with you, then join us. On that note, till next week, when we'll be talking about strategic thinking and other types of thinking, it's me, Tony Dada, your soul brother from another mother, saying, enough love.